Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the RotoWire After Dark Champions League podcast. My name is Jack Burkart. You can find me on Twitter at Jack Burkart. I am joined, as always, by Ryan Belongia, the newly minted champion of the EPL Scorpion Kick. Shout out to Ryan for winning 2K today. Not bad.
Yeah, thanks. Had a rough Sunday, so it was nice to get some of it back today in soccer. And excited about Champions League, best sweat in DFS. I feel like we're due to win one of these Champions League slates too.
Yeah, if I had to give a diagnosis of how I thought Champions League went, in week one, we were like, Champions League is easy. I think our advice crushed. It was good. And then week two, man, that was bad news for me. We were cowards with Harry Kane, and then we whiffed on Rico Lewis at the Stone Min, playing forward and taking set pieces and having the game of his life. That's how it feels like it's going lately for me. But it's always a new slate, and I'm pretty excited for this Champions League slate. Ryan, I DraftKings just doesn't care about its pricing and whatever. I've complained a lot about it. They don't care. What's the point? But I think it's created a somewhat interesting slate, especially how this sets up. So if we're just looking at the matches, we have these up on the cheat sheet right now. Manchester United, the biggest favorites, hosting Copenhagen. So it seems like a great spot, but Manchester United struggled against Galatasaray in a similar spot in the previous match week. That has one of the higher implied goal totals. The highest implied goal total is Real Madrid on the road in Portugal to Braga. So they're pretty similar goal total, but they're on the road, so that pumps up Braga's goal total a little bit. So less likely for a clean sheet. And then it's somewhat interesting. The other favorites are on the road. So like I said, Real Madrid on the road. We have Arsenal, a tricky match at Sevilla. That's never an easy place to play, and Arsenal struggled at Lens last time. We got Napoli, who are underpriced at Union Berlin, and then a couple of matches which I don't think are particularly interesting. Benfica, that's the lowest goal total of the slate, and Benfica are an absolute mess with their injury report. So who knows what they're going to roll out? And then I don't know how many people are going to be interested in this PSV Lens match. I don't really think Lens are a great side for DFS, but there's some pieces to play on PSV, and maybe you can convince me otherwise. But Ryan, what's sticking out to you about how the slate's playing out? Any matchup look particularly interesting to you?
Yeah, the first thing that sticks out is you said the soft pricing. It seems to happen a lot on these Champions League slates. It's kind of a play whoever you want slate again. I think DraftKings seems to like it that way. Um, as far as these matchups, I don't. United stands out as the best matchup, but I mean, it's United. We've seen them fail over and over again in good spots. And then after that, yeah, you said it's a bunch of favorites on the road. So like nothing that stands out as like a smash spot. I mean, it's a good spot for Madrid, but for DFS, they're always kind of tough. Uh, Arsenal, yeah, I don't know. Like for cash games, I think it's a tricky slate because like who's a lock? I mean, who are you just for sure playing in cash games? Well, Bruno. And
Bruno.
then after that, I don't know, like who's the next forward, who's the next midfielder where you're like, oh, I have to have this guy in my lineup. And I don't know, I don't, I don't know. We'll get into that, but I think it's up for debate.
I think it's a tricky cash slate. I think the pool is like there's like not a lot of locks and there's a lot of decent plays, and there's that makes for a lot of different constructions. I know we were talking
Kind of
about
like that
Rico.
though,
Yeah, I think
you
it should
know.
be fun. It should be good for GPPs at least because there's not going to be like a clear, chalky salary construction. On my DraftKings tab, I have 4 lineups, and if I saw any of those in a head-to-head against me, I'd be like, well, that's fine. I mean, maybe not what I would do, but I think there's a bunch of reasonable constructions that the pricing allows for. You were talking about Manchester United, Ryan, and all of their players are cheap, but man, they struggled for large periods of time against Sheffield United over the weekend. I just don't think they're a particularly strong team. They're suffering a lot with injuries, and I don't know if like morale is low in the squad either. I shouldn't be like, I'm not good at commentating on that type of thing, but I've just seen them. I've watched their games and I've watched them struggle. So I think that makes things more interesting. I think people are going to be frustrated with United, so they're not going to have high rostership. There's some room for that spot to fail. And so that opens up all the other spots. Like I'm happy to play Napoli pieces instead of Manchester United pieces. And I think for that reason, because Manchester United have been struggling, that makes this a much more interesting spot. If Man U were the second best team in the league, not top of the table like my Tottenham Hotspur, maybe we'd feel differently. Maybe we'd just be like it was just going to be a stacked Manchester United slate. But I don't think it projects that way whatsoever. Yeah, maybe we can get into cash games though. I mean, we were talking about the options, and there's really no must play forward, Ryan, at least to me. The name that sticks out is that Bukayo Saka. Mikel Arteta is keen on just killing him and playing and running him to the ground all these minutes. I keep saying it, but he doesn't care, and Saka continues to crush. Every time he's out there, he's doing awesome. Do you want to spend up 9,500 for Saka, or do you want to maybe try a more balanced construction where you try to play several mid-price forwards?
Yeah, I think he's he's a fine option, but I'm not just running to jam him in. Uh, for one, like it's not like a smash spot in terms of floor away to Sevilla, and I also wouldn't be surprised to see him get subbed. I mean, we've seen that a little bit more often now, and Arsenal, all of their attackers are healthy again. Yeah, I know everybody's always talking about Arteta running Saka into the ground. I know you are too. I get it. But he's 22, and I guess sort of with the body type he has, you should be able to play a few soccer games a week, especially if you're not really training that much. I don't know. I know there's a study that just came out about these NBA are resting all their players all the time now, and apparently it doesn't do anything to stop injuries. I don't know. Do you remember when you were a kid and you could play for hours and hours every single day and never be tired? Jack, you go out at Notre Dame and drink all night and wake up and go to class at 7 in the morning and your body was just fine. I
And I
mean,
got and I did well in those classes too. It was crazy.
mhm,
Thursday night you go out, then go to complex analysis in the morning, and then go out Friday night and go out Saturday until 3 a.m. You're right, and like I have one beer now and I'm ready to die. So
right. I mean,
22 does make a big difference.
22 years old, right? He's just playing soccer, having a good time out there. So I mean, I'm not too worried about it with a guy like Saka, uh, but just like for cash games, yeah. So I think it's an interesting cash game slate, sort of like we said. You put Bruno in, and then after that, it's not clear. Sometimes on these Premier League cash game slates or other slates, you just feel like, oh, you have to play this guy. I have to play this guy. I have to play this guy. This is a cash game play.
hmm
Kind of like this because you can sort of make your own decisions without uh, doing anything suboptimally. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't think Saka is a lock at 9,500. You can play him, like you can play him because the pricing's soft, and maybe it is optimal to play him. But there's some other forwards you could play too.
Yeah, I think he's fairly priced. I think that would be reasonable to say. So when other players are underpriced, so that might affect some of your decision making. I do like you said about cash. Like I don't think any particular player is going to really be too owned, and that's kind of nice. It won't come down to one of these stupid 3v3s at the very end that involves like a second defender and random utility player. Like, did you play Anthony Alanga or Harry Tofolo, something like
Right.
this? So that's kind of that is nice as well.
There's the other side of the argument though that if Bruno is really the only clear play, then why not just play Saka as the next one or something like that? You know what I mean? There is
Mhm.
that argument too.
Well,
So it
I,
it can go both ways.
I do want to get into that because if there were a lot of good cash forwards available, I would feel that way. And there's a lot of decent forwards that are available to us at price. So if I just look through some names, Kvicha Kvartshela, 7,100. He even takes a few set pieces now and then. The Napoli set piece situation is a total disaster from a DFS point of view. No one really taking them. He seems like a good play, not really a cash play. None of these forwards are really major cash consideration unless you have a strong opinion otherwise. You can play Angel Di Maria if he's fit at 6,400, but he has major fitness issues. And Marcus Rashford is finding cash at 6,600, but he's not a priority in cash games. He'll have good goal scoring odds, but he's been a bit out of form, and Manchester United have been struggling. So you can play these. You can play Hoyland at 7,200. You can play Rashford at 6,600. You can play Anthony at 6,200. Um, my thought about having Saka as the main forward is he's just the best option, and if he stands out amongst the rest as kind of the safest floor, that you can afford him, and he's just the best cash forward option. and you
Yeah.
don't have to throw 2 darts otherwise, and you can still be pretty strong in the rest of your lineup spots depending on how you build your lineup and how the defender position works.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think Vinny is not that much different than Saka. Um, I know you get a couple set pieces with
Mhm.
Saka, but I think their floors are similar otherwise. KK, yeah, Kvaratskhelia. I think you can play him in cash. I mean, I know the Napoli set piece situation is a mess. You shouldn't really even worry about it. You should expect like 3 or 4 guys to take 1 or 2 corners each. That's
Mhm.
sort of how it always happens. Um, I'm not sure who's on pens without Osimhen there, but it could be KK.
It could be.
And I don't know. I like the play just based on talent. He's one of the best players in the world, and he's pretty cheap, and it's a pretty good matchup. Uh, so yeah, I do like him. And then yeah, those United guys, they're okay too. Anthony, he's cheap. And he had what 11 floor points in 64 minutes against Sheffield. When United weren't that great. I don't know. Yeah, you don't like that he's going to get subbed. Um, Di Maria, I think you could play Di Maria in cash just because
Mhm.
it's too cheap. I don't care about really the fitness concerns for 6,400. Like you'd be okay with 70 minutes, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ozzy in the chat says maybe Zielinski on pens.
He took a pen in the most recent Champions League fixture, so thanks for pointing that
Mm,
out, Ozzy. Yeah, Antony's
yeah,
frustrating. I think he's coming back to fitness, so maybe we could project like 75 minutes of him. 75 minutes of Antony in a good matchup is probably fine, but not necessarily a must in cash. Um, I agree. I like KK. I think he's just a strong option in this slate on talent and some set pieces. Maybe he takes a pen and I don't know, just echoing everything you said. So yeah, nothing really inspires me though. Matteo Politano, 6,300. Maybe he takes, 1 or 2 of these set pieces. He played a little bit longer over the weekend. Maybe that becomes more of a thing with Osimhen injured for the next month. So maybe he's going to be pushed to play more, but he's never been kind of a fitness king guy who plays a full 90 minutes. So you're looking at guys who aren't going to play a full 90, who are cheap but have okay floors. You're looking at Di Maria, who we don't know is fit, or more goal dependent options. So that's kind of like, why not just play Saka in one of those spots and not rely on hitting 2 of those spots necessarily? Um, I don't know. How would you? I guess. How would you
yeah.
rank
No,
players?
I I think it depends. It depends what you want to do at second midfielder and at defender. I guess that's what it will depend on for me.
Hmm.
Uh, how I would rank them? Yeah, Saka if I can get there. Uh, but yeah, are we going to get a cheap midfielder that we can play? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can talk about midfield and we can circle. We can talk about the connections to the construction. We were talking about Bruno, who's 9,400 on this slate. I mean, Bruno's been crushing for DFS. It helps that United have been struggling, so you don't get these like stupid Bruno anonymous games. Like United have had to push a lot. So United being bad, I wrote in my column, has kind of been beneficial for DFS. So that's why the United plays are good, even if they don't dominate the game. Again, sometimes we want these games to be shootouts, so the favorite team has to push anyways. Um, so I do like Bruno. One thing I was thinking about when I made my first lineup, Ryan, and feel free to critique this. I don't mind if someone plays Jude Bellingham in cash games. He's a plus 130 anytime to score. He's drawing like 4 fouls a match. You're talking about a player with an 8-point floor and who's in fantastic form, a great matchup. So, feel pretty good about him scoring a goal. If he scores a goal, he's probably going to get you 20, 8-point floor otherwise. And that might be one reason you could play Bruno and Jude Bellingham in 2 midfield spots, and then you can just play 2 $6,000 forwards, and hope that those guys go off as well. It seems like a pretty powerful construction to me. Not really typical cash construction, but you're only foregoing Saka, and it's not the best matchup. So, what would you think if someone rolled out with Jude Bellingham and Bruno in cash
I
games?
mean, that is the high T cash
That is
strategy
high
right
T.
there, right? I mean, look at Bellingham's game log is insane. I
I'm
mean,
gonna pull it up.
I'm looking at it right now. It's absolutely insane. Um, yeah, he's arguably the best player in the world. So I can't I think very highly of him, so I'm not going to argue against it. Like, I mean, yeah, look at that log. He scored under 11 points one time.
Yeah, 7 fouls drawn
One
at
time.
Sevilla,
Yeah.
2 goals. He has 2 braces, scores in all but 3 of the matches. Decent volume shooter. He's clearly running pretty good from an efficiency point of view, but he probably should be like
Clearly.
over
Some of
10K.
yeah, they've documented that a few of his goals have been pretty fortunate, or that, sort of they've, fell right to him, or anyone would have scored him. I don't believe too much of that. But yeah, he's been running pretty good. But I again, like, I don't know, like, I'm not going to talk anybody off playing him. Like, that's the highest total game on the slate.
Yeah, it seems strong. And if you look how Real Madrid are set up, they're sort of running this diamond midfield. So Jude is playing in front of 3 more hardworking defensive or just distributor type of midfielders. So a lot of attacking responsibility falls on him. I mean, I don't really know Hasalu's game, but it can't be that dynamic. Probably fine second striker. So it's going to be him and Vinny, sort of the primary thrust of that attack. It
Man,
just doesn't
playing in
feel that
front of
irresponsible.
yeah, no, playing in front of Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and Valverde. I mean, probably that's the absolute dream. I don't know if it's ever gotten better than that for anybody in, like, soccer history. So yeah, yeah, that's a good point. It's nice to play in front of those guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good sell on Jude. I don't know. Like, I thought, at least for tournaments, I could see the price tag keeping people off of him. Um,
I hope so. I have 8 tickets into this, mid Champions League special, and Jude's going to be in all of them. I think.
I love
So
that.
I don't know. I just want to do it, and I only have 8 lineups, so
Sometimes you just
why
got to
not?
go for it, Jack.
Yeah, and I'm going for it with Jude. So I don't know.
Hmm.
Sometimes it just helps me make less decisions if I'm going to jam Jude. Then that
Yeah, love less
significantly
decisions.
significantly reduces the decision tree. As a hand builder, that's kind of what sometimes it just makes your life a bit easy. Um,
It does.
One reason that I think it would be okay to spend up twice at midfield is I'm not really the rest of the options outside of Bruno and Jude are I don't know. It's not the best in my opinion. Joey Veerman is a good play at 6,700. I think he's a great cash play. That Bellingham lineup, I have Veerman in the utility. He takes a set piece monopoly for PSV. And I don't know. I don't really see any punts. One punt that could show up is $4,300 Chiquinho. He might take some set pieces for Benfica, but that situation seems like a split no matter what. Like if Kuchku and Chiquinho are on the pitch, I think both will split. So that's not ideal, even at 4,300 in the lowest total. And Ryan, are we going to keep on getting conned by Mason Mount? How much money are we going to throw into that black hole?
Oh man, yeah, that was that. Yeah, that last slate with Galatasaray, we weren't really expecting Mount to start. At least, yeah, on the podcast. He started and then we lost. What, he scored 4 or 5 points. It happened on both Champions League slates. He could have scored. He could have assisted. He had one called back. Yeah, it's just one of those. We don't have him in the lineup right now, but what happens when Mason Mount starts? He's 3,900, and this is a better matchup than Galatasaray. This is the best matchup on the slate.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like that
I don't
meme.
know, Jack. I'd have trouble not clicking him. I don't know,
I'd click him.
but I'd have
I'd
trouble
click him.
not clicking him. I'm sure Adam would not click him, and he's been, laughing at us for continuing to play Mount. I don't know. Hopefully, he doesn't start though.
Yeah, I want that dilemma removed. If he does start, I feel like a good midfield you can play 3 midfielders very easily. This lets you get someone like Di Lorenzo or Trimmel at defender in cash, and then you can play Saka. I mean, it just makes everything fit too well. And he's going to score 4 points and get subbed off at 70 minutes, and then I'll go into our DMs and be like, nobody runs worse, and then wonder why this keeps happening. Just because we keep on playing Mason Mount and a terrible Manchester United side. But objectively, a good play. And if that opens up, that kind of makes it easier to spend up at every single one of the positions, which seems like a sensible approach. I've really talked more about midfield than you. So are you on board with
Yeah,
Joey Veerman?
yeah. He hurt my feelings last time getting subbed. We played him last week. I wasn't expecting the sub, but yeah, he still did well. 11.5 points away to Lens. It's not a bad matchup. Um, you know, I don't know. He's the same price as Zielinski. I know Zielinski is only going to take 1 or 2 sets, but he might be on pens. So at least that's an argument. Yeah, I don't know. I think Veerman's an okay play, but I'm not rushing to play him. I think your boy Rakitic is very similar. I like that he's at home and a little bit cheaper.
6,300.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Arsenal get in these spots, especially if Arsenal got the lead, there would be a lot of second half floor points for Sevilla. So yeah, I don't know. I don't mind that. I just don't think there's anything clear. I wish I had a better answer. I wish I don't know how. Like, Luka Modric. Oh no, he's not in. I saw. So who's taking Madrid set pieces? I had Modric in there.
Well, fortunately, we can use the RotoWire.com cheat sheet. We can pull up Real Madrid. So this is only for Champions League, but one nice feature, we can click on Luka Modric's name, and we can take a look at how set pieces have been working out for Real Madrid. It looks like it's Kroos and Modric, kind of how it's been for the last while. So they'll split if they're both on. This might be like one subbing for the other because Kroos and Modric are not fitness kings anymore. So
I just mean we have neither one projected in.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have that Iron Man midfield in. That's interesting.
So, you would probably get Alaba splitting, but he's a center back. So you would get Alaba taking some with, maybe Valverde. I don't know. It's tough to say. None of the guys in our projected lineup have taken sets besides Alaba.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you would guess that Alaba takes at least like half the corners. He takes direct free kicks anyways. I don't think Vinny really takes corners. We'll see how that goes.
No, but it's like that'd be interesting if neither Cruz or Modric started. I might have some interest in Valverde.
How much is Fetty Valverde in this one? My eyes.
Too much, but 64.
64. I don't know, Ryan. I know you really like Fetty, but I'd rather play my boy.
Yeah, I just
Rakitic.
love him. He's so good. Yeah, I think Rakitic is kind of an underrated play. It feels like a pretty safe play. I know it's not a good matchup, but
he's always an underrated play, so that sort of helps his case. Any midfielder in a reasonable matchup, and I think Sevilla at home against Arsenal is reasonable. If he's taking most of the set pieces, you want to make sure Suso isn't on. But if Rakitic is taking a set piece monopoly, those guys can go off, and I think Rakitic is on penalties as well. Again, depending on personnel. So that looks.
I think it might be Ocampos.
Ocampos. Okay.
I think we were trying to figure that out last time.
Fortunately, we can check these things and fact check myself live. So I'll pull up Ocampos, scroll down, hit penalty shots. We have nothing. Okay, well.
Maybe they had. Yeah, I need to look more into that.
I'll do what I tell my students. That's homework.
Because that's important. It's important whether or not Rakitic has pens.
That influences if I want to play him in GPPs. I love the midfielders at that price range who, if it's one goal, it's 20 points. I feel like that's sort of if you can, in tournaments, you can just eliminate any player who doesn't have that range of outcomes. This helps at the forward position quite a lot too. Like Rashford is a player who, if he scores a goal, probably scores over 20 points. Maybe Luke De Jong is not that type of player. And I don't know. I like to help thin the player pool out a little bit.
I see Veerman had 2 assists over the weekend, 9 corners. I mean, they were playing some low level Dutch team, but he's always filling up the stat sheet.
Yeah, and I think a matchup against Lens is fine. I mean,
it's fine, but it was a tough atmosphere for Arsenal when they went to France.
Yeah.
That's another one of those that's just like you got to hope you run good, because if Lens get the lead, it's going to be a great spot for Veerman. If somehow, PSV get an early goal, he's probably going to bust. Like, it's just one of those, like, that's how it goes. Same with Rakitic. If they get an early goal and it's Arsenal that end up chasing, he's going to bust. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. All those very finicky game trees when you have these sort of like box up, not non-attacking midfielders who have a lot of chores on their to-do list.
Yeah, we need some set pieces from those guys.
Yeah, we need set pieces and we need them to shoot and create some chances for their teammates. I'm looking at the personnel for PSV, Ryan, and it looks like we have 3 forwards: Chucky Lozano, Johan Bakayoko. Saibari and Malik Tillman are more attacking-minded players. If they rolled out with that lineup, I would probably pivot to Piotr Zielinski instead.
I'm
Um,
with you.
I think you wanna, if you just look at heat maps on a site like SofaScore, for example, Joey Veerman is markedly a little bit further back on the pitch. He has to do a little bit more mop-up duty in that case, so you're really required to get set pieces. And in a road match, that's I don't know, the parlay gets a little bit tougher to hit at that point. So
Yep.
be on the lookout for the lineup in that situation. Um, Anything else to say? We shout out Rakitic. We shouted out. Do you have any interest in these lens guys at home? I know Fulgini, he's like 7,900, always subbed early, takes most of
Always
the set
subbed.
pieces. I just can't do it. But it's a
Yeah,
good spot.
I mean, for tournaments, it's fine. It's not really a spot I was looking. I hate that their guys always get subbed. Thomason scored a great goal against Arsenal.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. Yeah, no, it's not really. I they all get subbed, and I don't like that.
Yeah, like, and you're talking about 7,100 if you want to like say, oh, Frankowski, maybe he assists someone, but you can play KK in a midfield spot for 7,100. So it seems a little bit thin. I know that main GPP is 3,500 entrance, but this is not the Millie Maker, and your game theory gains there. That's stretching it, in my humble opinion.
I guess one other guy I got to mention is if Mount doesn't start, you got 3,300 Scott McTominay there, who just can't stop scoring goals for club and country.
I wish I
Uh,
knew what was going on. I
yeah,
suffered Scott McTominay tilt over some international slates over the summer. He just couldn't stop scoring. I'm like, this guy, like, what the heck is going on? And I had to rearrange my entire lineup for the late 2 game slate on Saturday, and fortunately, I ended up just luck boxing into McTominay because I thought, hey, he's scoring goals lately, so why not? I just, instead of fading the outlier goal scorer, I just decided just to play him like everyone else, and hey, it worked out for me. So
yeah,
that's not a terrible punt. I don't think you need to do it in
no,
cash games, but
no, not in cash, but yeah, no, I think it's okay for tournaments if you're on United. I get it. Uh,
yeah,
to I guess I guess it's even fine for cash if you really like jamming some of the expensive guys. Um, to be fair to McTominay is a good player. I think
yeah,
he's sort of been unfortunate over the last couple of years. United have tried to make like everybody else work except McTominay, but it's actually really good. I saw
yeah,
Bayern were even in form in the summer, and like people were so surprised by that. But if you use these guys in the right way, they can look what he does for Scotland.
yeah, yeah. He's a good
Anyway,
player. I'm just looking through Copenhagen. I mean, even if you think Copenhagen are like in a decent spot, like there's 11 other teams to play players from. I just think that's too thin to play any of them. Looking through the rest of our midfield options. Yeah, nothing screaming. I keep wanting to play these Benfica pieces. I just don't think you can play this Benfica Real Sociedad game, outside of a one-off, like maybe a Rafa Silva at 6K in midfield and GPPs. He'll be relatively low owned, and he can score a goal and assist. But I don't know. I don't want to look at that game. The Real Sociedad players are too expensive. I think, for example, Kubo is in the mid 7Ks. Maybe if Bryce Mendes doesn't play. I don't know. Do you have any interest in pieces in that fixture?
um, not really. Uh, I would play. Yeah, I'd play someone from the home side in tournaments. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. But like you said, a one-off. I don't mind some of those Benfica guys as one-offs.
Yeah, I think Rafa Silva in a midfield spot is actually fine as a one-off. That was something that, it might fit in nicely. But yeah, nothing too crazy going with midfield. The pay up guys are good. Veerman and Rakitic, and then maybe some punts appear, Chiquinho or Mason Mount. Those guys in a utility spot can open up the rest of the construction. But I think that's basically the lay of land at midfield. Maybe we can talk about defender, because this is where we disagreed initially, Ryan. So in my first cash dummy lineup, I did not include a premium spend up defender, but you are pretty enthusiastically in on Christopher Trimmel in this spot. So why don't you talk about the case for Trimmel? I think I don't know. If you play him, it's probably because you're playing Mount, and I don't know if that's necessarily the best thing to do, because there's so many good plays at the 6,000 level. I do want to spend up for Saka. I do want to spend up for Bruno. It just doesn't leave me with much, and I think there's acceptable spend down defenders. But I mean, if Trimmel's on the pitch and he takes most of the set pieces, do you think that Berlin can generate enough set pieces at home against a strong Napoli side to pay off a $5,700 price tag?
Not all the time, but sometimes. If they go down a goal early, then I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree just a little bit. Like, for me, it doesn't have anything to do with whether or not I'm playing Mount. I think you just play Trimmel here. Like, when the slate is priced soft, why wouldn't you just play the defender with the highest floor? Is sort of where I start from.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if he doesn't have the highest floor, that's something I could be wrong about. It's not a great matchup, but I see Juranovic is out now.
Is that confirmed?
I don't know. It says out. Yeah, he's out for Tuesday's clash with Napoli. I mean, Trimmel's a guy who he crosses from open play too whenever he can. I mean, he's an old guy. He's not the most mobile. I mean, he's just trying to cross the ball in, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's like there's not many defenders on this slate that I feel confident are going to score 10 points, but I want the ones that are going to. Like, he seems like the best bet. I don't know. Like, again, I don't know like how this match is going to go. Maybe Di Lorenzo is a better play for the same price.
Mm-hmm.
Like, might look really stupid, but Trimmel takes a monopoly of set pieces. That's tough to ignore. At least pretty close to a monopoly. He had 17 crosses over the weekend. I know it's much different competition, but he's a crosser.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That was against Stuttgart, who I think are playing fairly well in the Bundesliga right now. I'm not a Bundesliga thought leader, unfortunately. Yeah, that's Alfie Doughty numbers.
We saw what happened to Alfie Doughty over the weekend, so
yeah, I jammed
keep
him.
that in mind too.
Yeah, we don't need to get too into detail there.
Yeah.
But I think the downgrades that I have for Trimmel is, he's a great crossing player. I like using the per 90 tool just to get a feel for, maybe if a player's, going above expectation, or maybe their role has changed. It's a nice sanity check. And Trimmel is a crossing machine, right? Always averaging around 7 or 8 or 9 crosses per match. He's running a little good, but that's still an excellent floor. I don't like seeing that he's not a shooting player, though. I think for tournaments, I don't feel bad fading that as much. Depends on how much value
That's
we
a
get.
good point. Yeah, he's an old guy without much upside. He has assist upside, but yeah, he's not gonna score.
No. So maybe that does make sense in cash. It does feel like a, pretty quote unquote preloaded 10-point floor. It's just going to be tough to get there. I mean, one thing that you can do, and I think I discussed this with you earlier, was you can play Saka and you can play Bruno, and then you could play another midfielder. You could play like a Veerman, and you could just use Trimmel in a utility spot instead of some of these 6K midfielders or forwards. I think that's quite reasonable. So when I started thinking about it that way, that made Trimmel seem like a more palatable play as a utility piece, because maybe you're comparing Trimmel to, would you rather play Trimmel or Anthony, for example, Ryan, in cash?
I don't know. That's a tough question. It depends how you view Anthony, I guess.
Yeah. Or a similar price player. Let's say Di Maria's fit. Would you rather play Trimmel or Di Maria? You don't need to fill the forward spot. You're just, $700 extra to sprinkle in your lineup, and you could use them in a utility.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you just have sort of the opposite answer. That makes me not quite as confident in Trimmel.
Because you can play the forwards.
Yeah,
I guess
those
that's
other
the
guys are
decision.
priced. Those other guys are priced closely to him, and they have upside.
Yeah, and I just kind of see the downside case. Like Di Maria might get subbed off after 60 minutes if he's, only got 60 minutes in him. Politano can get subbed off and not hit a floor necessarily. So I see the case for using him in that spot. It depends what the extra $700 would get you. So that's why I keep on going back and forth about, playing a Trimmel type option. I guess we'll have to see. I think it's one of the trickier parts, but I think the most persuasive thing that you told me was if pricing's soft, why am I rolling out Jordan Teze and Victor Lindelof in my two defender spots if I can just afford Trimmel and make the rest of my lineup work? When you put it that way, it seems a little bit more persuasive.
Yeah, that's kind of how. Yeah, that's how I think about it. The case for the other side is, if you really need Saka, if he smashes the 6K range, then you can get away with not having Trimmel. But
Yeah, you're relying on Saka to smash. That's basically the thesis. You're relying on.
you can also play them both too. Like,
Yeah.
you can play them both. Yeah, you can play them both. Like, I don't, it's another one of those things where you can play two of the 6K mids, or you can play zero. I don't know, like, if none of them are, I just don't know who, I need to play there. Yeah, it'd be cool to play two of them, but like, you're not missing out on anyone.
I guess
At least that's how I see it.
This is the case for playing Mason Mount or Chiquinho if they start, because if you just throw them into your utility spot, then
Well, what if you played? I'm just throwing this out there. We can move into defender. What if you played Trimmel and both United fullbacks?
Yeah, you can fit that.
Or as three defenders, are you giving too much away? Not having the upside of some of these 6K guys. I don't know. Maybe
it's very cashy, but maybe if the 6K guys had more clear routes to set piece, key set piece roles. There's
maybe
not a lot
I'm underrating some of those guys, but I mean, I don't know. Yeah,
it definitely seems like the
Veerman, Rashford, Anthony, Rakitic, all solid plays.
Mm-hmm. It's it's tricky. I thought the slate spending, I wasn't really thinking as hard about Trimmel before talking to you, but how you allocate your defender salary really has implications on, who you're fading at the high range and stuff like this.
I hope I'm not overrating him. It is a tough matchup, but he has at least 13 DraftKings points in his last 4 starts. I know he's been consistent. 49 crosses in his last 4 games. I know it's a tough spot. I don't like to see him getting subbed. I wish I knew more about that. Like, was Juranovic on the bench or not? Is that who comes in for him? I don't even know. I don't know much about this Berlin team. They have.
I think that happens. The Juranovic and him swap in and out. Sometimes they both play at the same time, but I don't think that's happened for a while.
Rusilian too, or however you say his name, he's out too though. So like, makes me feel pretty good about Trimmel.
Yeah, if Juranovic is out, you do feel good about his minutes. Maybe that tilts the scales a bit more. You were pretty enthusiastic about the United fullbacks. So, one situation which has just been tilting me for some reason because like I don't like being lied to by these idiot coaches, but like Reguilon was injured in the Burnley game like a month ago, and he clearly nicked his hamstring. And then Eric Ten Hag says that he's sick, and then he's out with a hamstring injury. But now the hamstring's totally fit, but he didn't make the squad over the weekend because he's sick. But apparently he might play on Tuesday. So I don't know what the heck is going on, but I do know that what's even worse than this is that DraftKings priced him at 3,500 when he was 5,900 over the weekend. So I mean, if Reguilon starts, I don't even care if he plays 75 minutes. I'm just clicking him into all of my lineups. So I think that makes one decision clear. Why don't you tout Diogo Dalot for us? Because I don't know. I find him to be a really frustrating player, but you think he has some upside when he plays on the right side.
Yeah, he's very frustrating. I think it's more about matchup. I think, it depends how you feel about this matchup against Copenhagen. This should be like, quote unquote, get right spot for United. As long, yeah, I know they've been really bad, but they should be on top for most of this game. I know we've thought that before, and it hasn't happened, but that's the way I'm playing it. Dallo, I do think he has a little higher floor on the right side. He's just going to get more crosses in. You see it with all these guys because he's right-footed. Like it's just upside is probably the same. I mean, he seems to score his goals cutting in on the left and shooting when he plays left back, but yeah, trust me, Dallo's frustrated me many times, everyone many times. Part of it is that United just haven't been great and they've been so inconsistent, but in matchups where they dominate, he's a good play. I don't know that they will dominate. I think there's a chance. I agree with you though. Reguilon, 3,500. You just have to click him in there. He might even take a couple set pieces.
Yeah, he should have gotten an assist in that Burnley game as well, but Johnny Evans obstructed the goalkeeper. I had Reggie on that day, in case it's not clear. That's burned into my memory. Um, if Region doesn't start, Victor Lindelof has been deputizing at left back. He got an assist over the weekend, and I'm only, he's probably not going to get another assist, but he was pretty advanced up the pitch. He's a decent defender. You like him as a defender. I thought he was kind of average, but I think he can function as a left back. And when you're 2,700 on the flank for the biggest favorite of the slate, that's never a bad play, especially in cash games, because it allows you to do a lot.
Yeah, that would be an easy click if he started as one of the fullbacks.
What about tournaments? Would you try to get off of a chalky Lindelof or?
You can go either way on that one. I would probably still play some in tournaments because there's not that much opportunity cost on this slate. It's also, part of the reason why I like Trimmel or Di Lorenzo. At least I don't see it. Guy in the chat asking about Goncalves. I think he split sets for Copenhagen. Yeah, look, I think that's fine. I don't normally roster a guy on the biggest underdog when they're away from home, but I get it. United have been bad. We saw Galatasaray score goals. It's a good price tag, especially with other United players. I don't mind that call. There's just not a lot of good defender options.
There's a lot of I'm intrigued, but I don't really feel bad about fading them. Would you rather play Dallo, or if I told you Alaba was going to take half of Real Madrid's set pieces in this formation? That seems pretty tempting. Well, if he's playing center back, that does change.
Even if he is playing, I don't know. I think, I was about to bring that up. I think you probably have to go with Alaba taking sets. Weird
That's
to
what
say,
I would
but
do. I'm looking for any reason not to play Diogo Dallo. To be
that's fine.
honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to oversell Dallo. I just think it's a good matchup.
I think it's good insight. He plays on both sides, and it sort of changes his game a little bit. Danny Carvajal at 5,400. That is DraftKings does all this weird pricing stuff, and then Danny Carvajal is the same thing as Gio Di Lorenzo. Maybe they'll look at their pricing one of these days. But Jordan Teze, man, he annoyed me last week. I was cashing until that stupid late goal, and then I got passed by a small train of lineups. That was irritating.
That was so annoying. He was like chalk for just randomly chalk because he was a cheap fullback.
He fit the construction.
Yeah, right. Like I considered him too. I looked into it, dove deep into his stats even from previous years. That was like an important point. And then the ball just fell to him in the box off of a set piece. It was just ridiculous. The reason I didn't play him is because I was like, well, there's no way he's scoring.
This is what happened. I saw that he scores, right? We get the alert in Discord because Bear has a time machine that tells him when all the goals happen. And then 10 minutes later, the Golazo shows. I'm like, well, let's see what Teze did. I mean, he's doing all right in this game, so decent play. And it was just like a Chicharito finish. He was just like a fox in the box and puts it in. Ridiculous. But at 4,500, it is technically a fine play. I wrote him up. He fits in that range. But now that we know that if like there's a lot of context here. If Alaba starts and he does take set pieces, if none of Modric or Kroos are there, I would definitely prefer Alaba to him. Yeah, a lot of ho-hum options. Have we missed anyone in? Oh, I want to talk about Alex Ba. He might not be fit, but he's always an attacking player at 4,100. I don't really understand the injury situation well, so look into that and see if you could expect, if he gets subbed at 60 minutes, that's a bad play. Um, would Juan Bernat be worth rostering at 3,700? Adam told me that he also has some fitness issues as well. He's not a particularly inspiring attacking player, but when you're a fullback for a favorite at home and you cost 3,700, I think that you're a completely acceptable cash play.
Yeah. Didn't Adam mention something about the minutes? It's the minutes that I would be
Yeah.
concerned about. If Bernat was going to play 90, sure, or if there's a chance at 90, sure. I'm looking more into Goncalves because his game log is just so good.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say in his last 4 starts, he's went 76, 79, 75, 64. So he's never made it to 80 minutes in his last 5 games. Just something. But yeah, he can score goals and take set pieces, so I do get it. One other guy, I don't know if he's going to start. I think he's going to start. He was just rested. Guy with upside is this, I don't even know how you say his first name, Diver Machado for Lens, this Colombian attacking fullback.
Mm-hmm.
You could play him for 4,300 or 40, for same price. He's got upside. He's scored a few goals already this year.
Tournament play.
Yeah. Tournament play, yeah.
Yeah, he's got like a Liga MX type of game log, getting subbed early.
Right. It's the same kind of thing, like as Goncalves.
Yeah, that's not a bad option. Gio Di Lorenzo, always an option. He's always live for a goal, so I'll probably play a healthy dose of him. I like him as a player. I don't know. I click the button a lot and it works out, so maybe.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, especially for fantasy.
I noticed Matias Oliveira. We currently project him to start 3,800. That would be a much better. I would prefer that to Alex Spa or Juan Bernat. I think just because Napoli are a favorite and a more attacking side.
Has he ever scored 10 points before?
Oliveira?
I genuinely don't know. I'm going to check. It just seems like he just. Oh yeah, okay. He had a game. 6 tackles, 1 got him to 11 points once.
All right, maybe I take it back.
Yeah, you see that? Like, yeah. So part of the reason why they sort of turn their formation and Di Lorenzo gets forward and Oliveira kind of doesn't.
A lopsided formation.
Yeah. So from what I've seen, he's priced that way for a reason.
Yeah. All right, fair point. I'm not as tempted. I thought he was a more attacking player for some reason. Maybe he was in the World Cup.
I've seen him be. Yeah, I've seen him. I've even seen him as a wing back, and I maybe that was for. Did he play for Uruguay? I've seen him play attacking for. Yeah, but he just hasn't been this season for Napoli.
Yeah. Do you think this is a slate where you could maybe fit in Trimble and Di Lorenzo? That would certainly be a contrarian way to play, I think. And if you kind of want to throw a lot of darts at the mid-price positions. We talked about this last week verbatim. It seems worth a squeeze. Zag when others zag.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah is the answer. Like, I will probably have one of them in every lineup. So I could play them both as well. I don't know. These are the slates where I want 10 points at both defender spots.
Yeah, because the mid-price guys, if you find them, I think that's going to be extremely powerful. So you kind of want to equip, like assuming that 3 or 4 of the mid-range, Rashford types really pop off in a big way. That construction is probably going to be a favorite to take down the main GPP, which is pretty exciting.
Right, or you just need Saka to not pop.
Yeah, 16.
It's like one player, him and Vinny too, I guess, for those other constructions to work.
I don't like fading Vinny nearly as much.
No, I'm going to play some Vinny.
That's always a scary proposition. What do you think the chalky tournament construction is going to be? Let's say in this large field contest, the $25 buy-in? Do you think it's going to be maybe spend up for 2 players and then, maybe at most one expensive defender? I think balance builds are going to be more popular. Bruno's probably going to be the most chalky player on the
Interesting,
slate.
right? Yeah, I mean Bruno. I don't see how Bruno's got to be crazy owned, right? I don't see how you don't play Bruno.
Yeah.
Uh, I get that it's Champions League, so you could fade him because there could be a lot of goals. But yeah,
Mhm.
he's going to be the most popular by a mile.
Mhm.
After that, I don't know who's going to be the second most popular player on the slate.
Yeah, that's
You thought people might not be too keen on United, but I have a feeling they might be
they're the
pretty
best
popular.
plays. I think it'll just maybe be kept like a few clicks down. Um, but yeah, I mean, how do you not play a healthy dose of Højlund at 7,200 and Rashford at 6,600? You don't really get many opportunities like that. So and especially if you're playing Bruno, right? So from a game theory point of view, people are going to say, well, if Bruno's a lock, he's probably going to if he gets an assist and he goes off, give me the goal scorer. Um, so playing 2 Manchester United players in the same lineup, that's probably going to be a popular tactic. So that means you have, a $9,400 midfielder and then a 6K forward. So it's just, are people going to pair Bellingham and Bruno together a large amounts, or are people going to do like, pay up for Vinny and Saka a lot? Are they going to be particularly popular in tournaments? I kind of just want, there's so many good plays. I just don't want to be on the popular salary
Yeah, no, I
construction, if that
think
makes sense.
I think your pairing of Bruno and Jude is pretty good,
Yeah, me too.
right? I don't think it'll be that chalky is what I mean. I mean, as far as like, yeah, I think people would be more likely to spend up for Vinny or Saka with Bruno or pair him with United guys. Yeah, I don't know, Jack. I never know what ownership's going to be like. I just feel like people are going to not really feel comfortable with a lot of these matchups and just sort of default to United home against Copenhagen.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Ozzy's saying for GPP, it looks like Bonucci takes penalties. Um, that's why not? I don't know how expensive Bonucci is, but you can always throw that in there if that fits. But Ryan, I'm starting to worry about how old this Union Berlin side is. This makes me maybe like the Napoli game a lot more. You have Gosens is not a particularly young player. Trimmel is not a young player. It looks like Bonucci. Um, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a very dynamic side, and Napoli are a pretty scary side to face against. I wish I knew more about the Bundesliga, more about how Union Berlin play, but this Napoli game is starting to look like one of my favorites. I mean, healthy dose
Yeah,
of Kvaratskhelia. I think, you know, Politona's a fine
I
player. I
think
always
so
think
too.
he
You
has.
know, they should be helped with no Osimhen out there. Should make
Yeah,
things a little bit easier for them. Uh, I'm with you though. They did just sign Brendan Aronson, or they got him on loan or something. I don't know that he's going to start, but that would make them a little younger at least. No, I'm with you though. I have one or two Napoli players in all of my lineups right now. I don't know. That's probably the best way to say it.
it seems to work. I mean, like, how many people are going to play Giovanni Simeone if he gets 75 minutes? I don't know. It just seems like it seems like how often are you going to get KK at 7,100 and
Yeah, right.
reasonable ownership? Like, he's not a must play. Like,
Yep,
oh, it
I
feels
agree.
really tempting. It feels like a really good button to click.
I agree. Yeah, any of those Napoli forwards, Politano, if it's Simeone, it could be Raspadori, who also takes some sets. Yeah, it just, and I'm just trying to look. There's not a lot of other spots to go, so I
No.
do think these spots will probably end up pretty chalky. But
Yeah.
but
I
I
mean,
think you can get by that with one-offs uh, from
yeah.
these other games too.
Yeah, the United game, it just has to be chalky because no one's going to be like, hell yeah, give me a Joey Veerman and Luke de Jong stacks. Let me run a train of 50 of those
Right.
in the GPP. Arsenal are a little bit expensive. Martinelli, 8,900. Jesus is the most interesting to me at 8K. Odegaard being the cheapest, I don't mind that. Although Odegaard has disappointed me greatly in big spots before.
Yeah.
Hashtag
I
king
think
of the pitch.
he didn't disappoint me in King of the Pitch a couple years ago, but
Yeah.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I think these Arsenal guys are good leverage. All of them except Saka. I don't think any of them except Saka will be popular. So I think that's fine.
Yeah, Jesus is going to be in a complete salary dead zone. How many plays have we talked about that are within $600 of him? It's either you spend 1,000 more for Vinny or
Right.
you're going down to KK. So
Yeah.
that's an intriguing play for me.
It's one of those where you wouldn't be surprised to see like him randomly single digits, or like yeah, I don't think anyone wanted to click these Arsenal guys, especially in that price range.
Yeah, Martinelli's a pretty ugly click. Odegaard, yeah. So I think Arsenal one-offs look pretty solid in that sort of situation. Just for that reason, like if you're worried that you're a little bit too chalky, right? Like probably a bad idea to play United and Napoli like heavily in the same lineup, but maybe you can get away with it by playing a Jesus or making something fit. I don't know. I don't want to. Maybe you just know ball and can play the best plays and just know
You
what's
just
going to
play the
happen.
bet, right? Yeah, there's that too.
Yeah, I wish I knew ball.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like the Benfica guys are okay. We mentioned them. I'm just looking. I can't really lens. I guess maybe we sort of talked about them too.
I can't do it. Well, I guess we have to talk about our cover boy, Wahi, Adam Zadroik's favorite player in the world, 6,900. Scored a goal every 2 games for Montpellier, but Ryan, you weren't impressed. You thought you'd see more.
Oh no,
I'm dragging you. I'm dragging you a little
I
bit.
shouldn't
No,
have
you were
said
just.
that. No, I watched all 32 of Wahi's Montpellier this morning after Adam touted him to us. Scored a very nice goal against Arsenal. Yeah, promising prospect. I liked what I saw from that home atmosphere. Like, so I could get on board playing one of these guys at home. I guess it would probably be him. He seems like they're most likely to score. What I said was he's not an out and out striker, which is fine. He's more of seemed more like a wide player, skill player, but those guys score plenty of goals too.
Is he sort of like a Heung-Min Son when he's forced into a centered forward position, or?
Yeah, tough to say for me since I really have only watched highlights and can't really
You watched the Just Bombs clip of him just
speak
scoring
on
for
it
fun.
too much.
I
But
won't.
yeah, he felt more of one of the typical French wide player types, the Dembele's, Coleman type, molds, Wilf Zaha, those types.
Yeah, that makes some sense. Well, I think we covered most of it. I mean, chalky United, and probably chalkier than we think Napoli after we digest. We're probably not going to pull a fast one on there. So enough one-offs to get enough leverage on the field if you want to play one of those games, which is fairly exciting. You can just be like me and play Jude Bellingham. Can't wait. We'll see how that goes. You'll know how my day's going by, the 70th minutes just based on that alone. And Ryan, do you know what we forgot to talk about? Goalkeeper.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
proud of
yeah.
us.
Yeah,
Here's
me
what I have
too.
to say about goalkeeper. I don't care who you play at goalkeeper. I'm just gonna every time I write the Champions League article, I'm just gonna tout the goalkeeper playing against Arsenal because I'm salty. I literally don't care who you play. It just seems like a good spend down slate. Like you can't play players on all of the favorites, so just look. Okay, I didn't play Vinny or Jude, so I'll play the Braga goalkeeper. That is how I plan
Yep.
to address the position, about as brainless as possible. I don't care who you play at goalkeeper. Please fade me or support me. Just do not bring the pitchforks outside my house, please.
Nope, that's pretty much exactly what I do and exactly what I'm gonna do. If I don't have any Madrid players, I'll go down to the Braga keeper. A lot of my lineups will probably have Nyland against Arsenal, like you said.
Mhm.
Lineups that don't have Arsenal players, give me Nyland.
Give me Nyland. It
Whoever.
doesn't it doesn't have to be that hard. If you want a model goalkeeper, I wish you all the best. I will say, if I spend up at goalkeeper, I am not vibing with Andre Onana. Tim Howard gave a pretty comprehensive review about how he is not playing the goalkeeper position well from a technical point of view right now. This is allowing like easy rebound goals for Manchester United. That's the ball knowing take that I'm going to give you on this show. So don't spend up for Onana. If you spend up, why not the Benfica goalkeeper whose name is, I totally know it, Trubin. That seems fine. 5,100. Maybe that's the only match that has a clean sheet.
Trubin.
That seems fine to me.
Samba seems okay for 49, 200 less at home.
Yeah.
The thing I was going to say about Onana, I generally agree, but if I'm playing, like if I have any lineups with both Reguilon and Dalot, I do kind of like that. Just because it's one of those slates where you have all the next favorites on the road, Madrid, Arsenal, Napoli, maybe none of them keep clean sheets. And then you get a big edge if United end up being the only team to keep a clean sheet. They haven't been great, but
you do.
I should have said, the fact that I like both of his defenders makes me like him slightly more for DFS.
Yeah. I would argue one thing. I know when Saramek went on Jordan's podcast, he dropped a hint about something that he seemed to know that others didn't. And it's, when you play a defender, is it better if his team is scored on or not? He's like, I don't know. It depends. And I wonder if you
that's
play
a fair point.
Dalot, if they're going to hit a ceiling. It's nice to get the clean sheet points, and if defender's weak, it's a little bit better. But I almost want United to go down a goal and Reguilon to have to, get to 12 floor points.
Yeah, I hear you. I was thinking more along the lines of, just give me 10 points from all three of them, 12 points from all three of them. I'll be perfectly happy with all that. I mean, Onana, Reguilon, Dalot.
It's not like a $7,000 Trent Alexander-Arnold. I'm applying
no, not at all.
Diogo Dalot, so that does materially change the.
And there's also just not that much opportunity cost at defender. At least I don't see it that way. So 10 points from guys at that price tag is good enough for me.
Probably good enough. That's a good point. And Trimmel might not kill you. You're basically only fading a goal from a popular-ish deal.
You're right, though. That's still a good point from Saramek and stuff that I'm trying to do more of. Playing defenders opposite, guys that guys that are going to get scored on and have to chase the game.
Yeah, it's a nice correlation, and maybe a boost for our boy Christopher Trimmel. Anyway, we've been going over an hour. Do you have anything else you need to get off your chest, Ryan? Any flag plants, any obscure play that you think is good, or should we wish the people good luck?
No, we'll wish them good luck. I think the last thing you said hit it. I said I had Napoli players in all my lineups so far. That was part of the reason I also have Trimmel in every lineup. Mm-hmm. If my Napoli guys are going to score, it's just going to work out perfectly.
Yeah, I do like the fullback bring back. So don't dupe Brian. Don't dupe me. Don't play Jude Bellingham.
No, don't even play Trimmel. He's 36 years old, and he's going to be on KK's side. He's getting a yellow for sure. Probably going to get subbed after that. Just play Di Lorenzo.
Yeah, just play Di Lorenzo. And, it's unbelievable that people keep playing Jude Bellingham, who's probably running like double over his expected goal and just getting all these lucky goals. And everyone thinks he's the best player in the world. He's a solid player, but he's obviously running.
Can't play Jude.
Fade him. So fade him. Play
he's $3K overpriced.
Yeah, $3K overpriced. You can't do it.
Just can't even click it.
And Ryan and I, just look at how we did last week. We're bad. So, we want to play these guys. Don't listen to us. That's if you want to be successful. And you know what you can do if you want to be successful? At Blenderhead and ask him 1v1 decisions. That is my final advice for the slate. All right, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. I'm sure we'll be tilting. Good luck.
Good luck, everybody.